For this mini lesson, you are going to create a Zentangle design. Before we get started, I want us to take a look at two different papers. It's important that you're using the right paper for this particular quick assignment. So this is our regular drawing paper, and this is our watercolor paper. And if you can see, and I'm hoping you can see, if I can get close enough or far away enough, that you can see that this paper, which is our drawing paper, is whiter. This is a little bit creamier, and you'll notice that this paper has a little bit of a pattern to it, or a design, a texture. And so that's how you can tell watercolor paper from the white paper. You are going to be using watercolor paper. And so you're going to need, for this assignment, you are going to need your tool bin. You are going to need a ultrafine point Sharpie. You are going to need a glue bottle, and you're going to need a 5x5 black piece of paper. So the first thing that you're going to do, I'm going to move these off to the side. We don't need them right now. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your watercolor paper, that's the one that's kind of a creamy color that has a texture to it, and you are going to start by making 4 points in each corner. You are then going to use an organic line. That means that it is going to be probably a little bit more curvy. It's not going to have angles. So think about the type of line that you would like to create your border. Now, so you're kind of making a frame / border design all the way around, and you want to try and keep consistent all the way through. Okay? Once you've created your border design, you're going to use 3 lines, and those 3 lines are going to hit all 4 sides of your paper. And to do this, you can use kind of a Z pattern, like the letter Z. Now we're not going to take our pencil and just go 1, 2, 3. So there's my 3 lines, 1, 2, 3, creating that Z line. Notice I'm hitting one side, second side, third side, fourth side. We're going to kind of use a Z pattern, but then we're going to be able to take that line and we're going to be able to make it whatever we want it to be. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go around. So there's 1 line, 2 lines, 3. So you can see that here's my 1, 2, and 3. Now that you have your 3 lines mating all 4 sides, you're now going to take your ultra fine point Sharpie, and you are going to trace your lines just like so. Now when you're using the Sharpie, there's really no need to press down hard on the Sharpie point. A lot of students have a tendency to want to push down hard, and really that actually harms the marker. It just putting more pressure on the point can bend the point, it can damage the point, which makes it a little bit more difficult for the ink to flow. So just allow the ink to flow naturally through the tip. So I'm going through here. Oops. Okay, now once you have your lines traced, you're then going to take your eraser and you're going to erase your pencil lines. Everything you do from this point on is going to be done with the ultra fine Sharpie. You are going to start by creating some pattern or design inside each of your areas. So if I take a look at this, and I'm not going to open up the Sharpie right now, but if I were to take a look at this, inside this area right here, this might receive one pattern. And then this area here will receive a second pattern. And this area would receive a third pattern. And this area in here, because it's all open, this would receive a fourth pattern. So how much you break this up is really up to you. You can keep it more simple or more complex. The more complex has its advantages and disadvantages. I would suggest not making it too simple, because then it just I just think having a slightly more complex design might look a little better. So the first thing I want you to try is I want you to try working with swirls. So I'm going to fill this space up with some swirls in here. So I can decide whether I want these swirls to be very large. And one thing you need to understand is that when you're doing this, you are looking you're looking to create a variety of value through your pattern and your design. So because I'm keeping these swirls fairly large, and I am not making them really compact and tiny, this space is going to feel much more open. I might put a couple small ones in some really tiny areas. Okay, so you can kind of see how this stays pretty open. Now, the next thing you can start with is you can try to create some different types of lines. So let's say you want to do something like this. You could decide on doing some different types of lines. And maybe you go in here and you decide that you color in every other one. Like so. And you can see how this has a different value than these swirls. I could go in and I could also create a checkerboard. So if I were, let's just say right in here, if I wanted to create a checkerboard. Now I'm not going to create, you could create your traditional checkerboard, which is just a black and white, but I'm going to show you something a little bit different that's going to make this look a little bit more interesting. So I might decide that I want to do something that looks like this. And then maybe on this side I do the opposite. And you can see, well, I think I just messed that up. You kind of really have to pretend or pay attention to what you're doing here. So you get the idea. Okay. So you can see some of the different values that I've created. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples that I created, and then you'll get a chance to see this a little bit better. So here's one, and you can see here on these swirls I kept them fairly large, but here I kept them large and I had some that are smaller. Here's another one that I did. Now these aren't finished yet, but you can see just using this different pattern here, I can use different types of lines, I can use different shapes, I can fill things in. So you can see I have a pattern. Now this here, right here, the design you see here, which looks pretty intricate, and the design you see inside here, and the design you see inside here, this is all done using that checkerboard type style. what I've done is I've just changed how I'm adding color, or how I'm choosing what I'm choosing to make the design, which is going to be black, what's going to be white, and how I might fill that in. So once you're done patterning, and if you need help, if you ever are having a hard time coming up with an idea on your own, then there is also this packet that I have for you. Now I'd like for you to see if you can't kind of take this and tweak this and kind of modify it, do something on your own, but you can certainly use this packet to come up with different ideas or to try different things on your design. So when you're done with your design, your next step is going to be to take your black paper. You're going to turn this over. You're going to need your glue. You'll have to open up your glue, make sure that it's open, and you're going to just put a tiny bit of glue, baby dots of glue. We've talked about this many times. Baby dots of glue, see that? Really not very much at all. And when I turn this over and I center it on my black paper and I press down, there should be no glue leaking out. So you want just a little bit of glue, just enough to tack it down. Now you can either choose to take your pencil and sign your name on the bottom right hand corner, or if you'd like I've done in this sample, you can choose to put your name somewhere within the border of your design. So that is this lesson. No matter where you are in the steps of this lesson, at the end of class, it's going to be really important that you put your pencil bin away. You return your permanent marker, making sure it's snapped closed, and close your glue bottle, and make sure your glue is standing up nice and tall in its storage area, and your table is cleaned off. So I look forward to seeing all the designs that you create, and you can do more than one. So have fun designing and coming up with your own Zentangle.